welcome to Gaming the System, the show where four actually, intersectional feminists discuss gaming through a feminist lens. Today we are going to, essentially what we're going to be doing is explaining why gaming is for women over 30. Really, basically, is why, as a woman who is 30 plus, just going to be that vague about it all, that you should be allowed to, that you shouldn't not even be allowed to, you should feel that gaming should be part of your life. It's not something you need to feel guilty about. It's something you can do. It's something you will enjoy, and it's something that will enrich your life in many, many ways. We have today a cynic, a doubter amongst us. No, we have the most wonderful Dr. Hannah Barham Brown, who I will do a brief intro of you, Hannah. She is a doctor. She is a GP registrar. She has been something in the BMA. She does stuff like that. As you can say, I do my research really well normally, but I'm like, oh, Hannah's been my mate for years. I can introduce her without having to look this stuff up.
I'm a council member of the British Medical Association.
Thank you. Yeah, council member of the British Medical Association, deputy leader of the Women's Equality Party. We know that bit. And she has a TED Talk. She's on all the socials. And in fact, probably if you're listening or watching to this, you've actually probably already follow Hannah. So I don't need to tell you her socials. But, you know, Popsy. What are you at, Popsy Brown? Sorry, you're eating and I'm making you talk.
Such a professional, as ever. No, so it's at Hannah Popsy on Twitter and at Hannah Popsy1 on Instagram, because there's apparently another Hannah Popsy. Outrageous.
Ooh. Yeah, I had to do the thing of being really smug and making myself the Caroline Hunt on Instagram because somebody else had already taken it, but nobody had taken that one. Right, anyway, so today Hannah has very kindly agreed to join us, even though she is not a gamer. So we thought we would take this opportunity to try and convince her that gaming is something that she might enjoy, that she might have time for, that gaming is not the purview of teenage boys, and that there is a wider world of gaming out of there. So I'm going to start off by asking the panel first, because Hannah's still eating. What was it that got you into gaming, first of all? So, like, what was it that first got you? And I know we've talked about this sort of thing, but I think we haven't talked about it for a while, actually, but what it was that got you into gaming. So, Alex, first of all, what was it that got you into gaming?
That's a really good question. I'm going to say my family. The people I grew up with, basically, got me into gaming because they were playing games. And I thought, let me have a go at that. I guess really from the most early age, it started out just like competitive family games at Christmas and then turned into computer games from there. Because in the mid-90s, they became a thing. And suddenly I wanted to play them. And we used to just, either we'd watch each other play or we'd have a go ourselves. So it was very much a family activity. And we were all equally enthused by it. And that's, I guess, I took it and ran with it and became the gaming nerd of the family, I would say. Definitely. That is how it started for me.
Jen, what about you? What got you into gaming?
Oh, gosh. This is a really long...
sorry.
This is such a long story, and from the history times way back when. No, I mean, we always
can make it up if you want.
I'll just make it. No, we always had a Christmas game. Every Christmas we'd get a board game or something. So we always played board games as a family, and I used to play Monopoly with my cheating brother. And then I used to play Monopoly by myself because that was more fun. And then he got a computer. He got like a Spectrum. I think we had something else before that. But anyway, he got an old computer, and it was one of those ones where you put a cassette in it, and it took 5 days for the game to load. But I really enjoyed that. And there was also programming that you could do then. And I really enjoyed programming and making games and making things happen. And because it was much more accessible then than it is today. I do very little programming today, a bit of web design, but that's it. But So I'd say it's annoying actually, because it was probably my brother, and then later it was online gaming. So I got involved in, when I was 12, he got a modem for his Christmas present, and so we started going online and playing multi-user games, which were just text-based games at that point, and just text-based adventures. And if you wanted to go north, you typed N, and if you wanted to talk to somebody, you typed tell and then their name, and it would send a message. So it was really, really like basic games, but very literary. So there was a lot of descriptions and a lot of reading and a lot of sort of thinking involved in them. So that, but they was also very social. So that's really what sort of got me into it. And then through that, I got into gaming more. But the reason I say it's frustrating is because the story that you hear so often when you talk to women about what got you into gaming is it was a man in their life. It was a brother, it was a boyfriend, it was it was a male friend. But it's usually men that get women into gaming, and I think that's really frustrating. Yeah, that's my true story.
Yeah, I mean, I used to, with my Amstrad that we bring up all the time, and I loved New Zealand story. See, I've got pictures. I'm cheating.
She's cheating.
I'm not used to this exciting levels of technology.
I know. It's amazing.
I can't process any of this, but yay!
It's fine. And it's interesting you say that, Jen, because like obviously as a kid, I think it was purely me wanting an Amstrad and seeing them on TV and other people having that. I mean, I've got 4 older brothers, so it's kind of hard to like separate that. But I think it was me who was the one who wanted it. But there was definitely then a lull, no gaming. And then I was a teenager who had boyfriends, and the boyfriends got me into back into gaming, as it were. So, Hannah, I put my serious voice on.
That's like my doctor voice. I'm quite impressed.
Have you got any experience of gaming at all?
So it's actually really interesting listening to you lot talking about this, because I think it's my brothers that put me off ever getting into gaming. So my eldest brother, my late brother Gareth, was like massively into gaming, like every type you can imagine, to the extent that when he died, an ex-boyfriend of mine got in touch and said, I knew I'd got through to Gareth when on day 5 of watching him play yet another game I didn't understand, he begrudgingly handed over a controller. And I was just like, yeah, that's pretty much it. But it was Gareth's thing. And I think, he was very unwell as a teenager and had a heart transplant and stuff. So he couldn't go out and like do as much of the stuff as me and my other brother were doing. And we were those awful kids that was enrolled in multiple drama, orchestra, dance classes every week. Like we just didn't stop. So we were very rarely at home for starters, but it was always Gareth's thing. And I think as a family, we're incredibly competitive. Like Jen, I completely get the Monopoly thing. Like our Monopoly games would generally end up with Gareth throwing the Monopoly board, because we also have family rules. That means that technically it never has to end.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no, genuinely, we've rewritten the rules of Monopoly and it never has to end. So it can get a bit stressful. But yeah, so as a result, I think my parents were quite happy for me and Harry to never have an interest in gaming, because they knew that all hell would break loose if like we were up against each other in anything. The only thing I can remember is that Gareth and Harry both got Nintendos. I love that you can't say Nintendo without doing the hands. They both got Nintendos when we were teenagers. And I remember like long road trips to Scotland, having to take it in turns. And we weren't great at taking it in turns, which is awkward for a family of 4 children. And yeah, I got my turn and I still have no idea what was going on. So I just went back to reading the book most of the time, I think. So yeah, other than that, I have no knowledge of gaming whatsoever. It's just never really entered my consciousness. Or appealed. But
which is why we wanted you as like a blank canvas here.
But I'd just like to interject that clearly your family does do board games.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about that.
Yeah,
about gaming. Gaming is a whole thing. It's not just computer gaming. So
we describe ourselves as intersectional gamers, Hannah, which is so that we include all types of gaming, whether it be computer games or board games.
But again, like even the board games were Gareth's thing. Like we would do all of that. We loved it, and we'd just sit there going, "Oh, great, Monopoly again, Scrabble, woo!" Like I think as a family, we've played a board game maybe once in the last 10 years. And it was literally me and my mum playing Scrabble against my brother and his wife. And it got so competitive because my mother's worse than I am that we've just agreed it never happens again. Because we end up hating each other.
I'm starting, because the thing is, I think when you try and introduce people to games, you have to get a view of what it is they want out of it and what their personality is, and we'll come to that in a bit. But I'm starting to get a picture of what it is that we need to think about in terms of games.
My mind is going.
I mean, we do, to be serious for a second, we do talk about barriers to gaming a lot. For example, one of the things that is often talked about is that any of the sort of games where you're meant to put a headset on and talk to people, women are massively not keen on that because of the horribly toxic atmospheres that exist on many games, that they don't also, or just the responses they get. I mean, I think I'm not plugging the subreddit Girl Gamers enough because I only mention it once an episode. But
I don't know what a subreddit is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you later, though.
Okay.
But so there's Reddit, and then there's subreddits, which is it's like a magazine within Reddit. Think of it that way.
Okay. I actually opened Reddit for the first time last week. It was very exciting.
Was it because I sent you a link from Reddit?
Yes.
Well, it might be. But yeah, so this is a brilliant subreddit where women talk about gaming, and the most common thread topic is, I just turned my mic on and said something to my team, because a lot of these games depend on doing cooperative teamwork and sort of say, you go over there, you go and get that guy. And she was like, oh, this is why I never turn my mic on, because suddenly everyone's like, it's a girl, it's a girl, And one of the things that's fascinating to me as we've been talking about this is that there are loads of women in gaming. They just don't want to turn their microphones on because they're too terrified of the shit that they will get. And so, yeah, I didn't really have a question for you, Hannah, but I was kind of like, but I mean, you are probably the least likely to have felt this was a barrier to you getting into gaming, but does it worry you?
I don't like talking to strangers, which I know it always surprises people because my job is literally meeting a new stranger every 10 minutes. But I think it's possibly a slightly ADHD masky thing. It's possibly that is my work mode. And, politics is my work mode. Giving talks is my work mode. And actually, the second I'm not in that mode, I hate small talk. I find meeting new people absolutely terrifying. Like, this is okay because I'm in work mode in my brain. So I can, make it okay. And actually, I kind of vaguely know Jem and I've seen Alex before. So this is all kind of fine. You all seem lovely. And Caroline, let's just not go there. But, I think I'm not so fussed about men being assholes online necessarily, because frankly, I get yelled at by people every day. That's a kind of an occupational hazard. I think it's more that talking to strangers is the least relaxing thing I can think of. So I just don't want to.
Yeah. No, and we talked about that a lot. Alex, you don't play any online
I don't,
games like
not
this
at all. I hate it too. And there's plenty of games where you don't have to talk to anyone, so I play a lot of those.
Okay, I'm feeling better about this already.
Yeah.
There are plenty of games where you can talk to people if you want to, but you can also not talk to people if you don't want to, which I think that's where I'm kind of liars. I like the fact that if I want to play with some people I know or my partner or any of that sort of stuff, then we can do that. But Jem, you have the background of having been in a guild.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, to be really honest, I met my two husbands, my last one and my current one, online, and I met in games, not dating apps, and I also met my all of my previous boyfriends actually online. So I've met almost all of I met some people in school.
I mean, that in itself is an amazing marketing thing that we should be guys. Genuinely, have you seen how
sure I
awful
would
it is
necessarily
when
recommend
right
it
now?
as a dating app. But to me, I absolutely take the points that have been raised here. I think it is quite nerve-wracking, and now the idea of going into an online game and having to meet new people and build up those relationships and all of the issues that come with it is quite daunting. However, in my experience, online gaming is a really nice way to meet people who you would never necessarily normally come into contact with in your daily life. So my husband is Swedish, so I would not have bumped into him in my life. And the other people that I met were from all over the country. They were not from my local area. So I would not have had those experiences, and I made friends from all around Europe as a result of the online gaming that I did, and experienced people from lives that I would not have come into contact with. I met people who were living in Guatemala, and were able to describe all sorts of lifestyle that I had no connection with, and I met people who came over from New Orleans to London to meet us because they played on a game that we played, and we had a meetup, and they traveled all the way from America for like 3 days just to come to this thing, and for me it was a very positive experience. But I can see, it also has all these negative things, but you can build a connection with somebody online in a very gentle way. You can just slowly build up that connection. It's not as intense as when you meet somebody face to face and you feel like, oh, I've only got this certain amount of time. You can build a relationship over years with somebody in an online environment. And so I think there are pros and cons, and I think it's a shame that so many women feel sort of shut out from this environment where there is such an opportunity for building very deep and meaningful relationships with people that from lives that you would never normally connect with.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely the nail on the head. There is the problem is there's too many women who are scared to do that first bit because of the negative experiences. The saying, I'm going to go with 50% negative to what could be the 50% positive. No, I mean, it's even in the toxic environment that is Rust. So Hannah, we've been friends for 3 years now. In that time, I've probably paid about 400 hours of Rust, and you have no idea what that is. So it's a game where everything's on a big island. You get dropped down with nothing, and you hit rocks and you hit trees and you gather stuff until eventually you've built yourself a fortress and you have guns and you have armor, and you go out and you kill other people and steal their guns and armor and destroy their houses with C4 and vice versa.
Sounds charming.
Well, the nice thing is the building. See, I like just finding a nice bit in the middle of nowhere in a forest or on the sea, building a nice little base, making it nice inside. You can decorate it, you can put some art up, and protecting it. Someone comes and attacks me, then, I might take them out, but I don't go out looking for people to raid.
You're big into the Geneva Convention.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Basically. Only retaliate. But again, there have been people who, because I do that on servers, like they will eventually start putting in the chat, like Snuggles Skunk, you're here again. So they know I'm on the map all the time. They know I'm not getting involved in any fights. And very occasionally I do involve myself in the chat and call somebody an idiot if they're being homophobic or racist or something. And there have genuinely been nice interactions with people. There have been people who, as you say, Jeb, over time, like I will actually be like, hey, it's so-and-so online again. And it's like, it's nice and happy. And like, yeah, there is an opportunity for human interaction and development that in the BAFTAs this year that we were talking about in our previous episode 2 weeks ago, not 10 minutes ago, But the gaming BAFTAs, one of the big themes of it was how so many people had turned to gaming during the pandemic as a way to connect with other people, as a way to bring people together, people celebrating New Year's Eve on Animal Crossing together, which I'm so happy now, Jem, that I found out you did that.
I have photos to prove it. I will share them with you.
So, Hannah, I'm going to show you Jem's house on Animal Crossing because I have that picture available. Jem sitting in her little house in Animal. So Jem
just like me, doesn't it?
Jem will have chosen that wallpaper, that sofa, that furniture.
I love the effort you've put in. Scent. Like, you've got some candles which are presumably scented. You've got a diffuser which is putting out scent, and then you've got the reed diffuser, which, given you can't smell any of this, I am loving that level of dedication.
I actually have something similar. I've got an aroma pot and the reed diffuser in my Animal Crossing house as well. But you know, Hannah, as somebody who takes a lot of interest in designing a house, Animal Crossing is basically like a less hard-working way of redesigning your own cottage.
Yes, but to counter that, I get to play with actual power tools. Which terrifies no one, given my propensity.
Yeah, but do you get to dig up fossils and take them to an owl in the museum and get him to assess them?
I mean, I am in quite rural Yorkshire, but I don't think we've got that place just yet.
Let's not be rude about
that was
Yorkshire.
a very left of field question there.
Yeah.
You can always tell it's the second show we record it, as I lose it a bit by the second. Sorry. I've stuck to my 2 beer limit, so it's fine. No, back to the serious stuff. So, back to the serious stuff. One of the other things, no, but genuinely, one of the other things we talk about a lot, and really I should be talking to your partner in crime from your podcast, Salty Women.
Yeah, she's well into this.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to invite her. Don't worry.
Please
but
do. Like, why did you invite this partner? Like, honestly, you've got Athena Stevens, brain the size of a small planet, who actually has a creative bone in her body, and you chose this one?
Well, because I wanted to practice with you first.
I'm the bride. It's not the first time I've been Athena's warm-up act, and it won't be last. So I'm kind of okay with that.
Do you want to say anything about accessibility in gaming?
I mean, it's not an area I know masses about. Let's put it that way. So I've got an amazing friend who you definitely should talk to, Amy Kavanagh, who
big fan of hers on Twitter.
Yeah, so she is visually impaired and she does Twitch
streaming.
Yeah,
this show gets streamed on Twitch.
Not that she twitches; that's a different kind of disability.
Yeah,
that's bird watching, isn't it?
Twitcher is a bird watch. Yeah,
so many options,
so many Twitches.
But I know she's probably into it, and far more knowledgeable about this stuff than I am. I think, because I mean, with my disability, because really my thing is I'm quite okay as long as you don't ask me to run or tap dance or, stand up for too long. And I might
there are games where you have to do something.
Yeah.
But, I think unless I'm going to be jumping on a Wii and leaping around a room, I'm probably okay with most things.
Look at you knowing what a Wii is.
Only because my brother had one.
Do you feel sad about that, though? Do you feel sad that that it's not accessible to you?
I think I vaguely remember when Gareth died and the Wii was suddenly available and Harry was kind of like, oh, do you want it? And I was kind of like, no, mate, I can barely walk. Why the hell would I want something? But there was part of me that was kind of like, actually, that would be a really fun way to exercise. And I'm always looking out for ways I can exercise as a wonky person. I say always, I did my first exercise in 6 months yesterday and it involved a weight hula hoop purely to prove an ableist on Twitter wrong. But it's great. Highly recommend. But I think, there was definitely a moment at that point where I was just like, that's another thing I can't do. But I think it was more associated with the exercise element than not, because when I first became disabled, I did a lot of sport. Like I did wheelchair basketball, I did a triathlon in my chair. Like I properly went for it. I was doing a 20k race in my chair at one point. And I knackered my shoulders. Shocker. Like literally anyone could and should have seen that coming. But I think that's the bit that I struggle with the most. Not necessarily the game element. It's the I want to be able to exercise.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. But I just basically was like, we can't have disability activist Dr. Hannah Barham Brown on and not mention accessibility and disability.
I mean, definitely it's something that we need more of. Yes, disabled people deserve equal opportunities to game and access for all and all that sort of stuff. I just don't know anything about it.
That's fine. We'll get Athena on to talk about it. And we have talked about it as well before. We've done a whole show on it. So it's fine. But I'm stalling for time because I thought we should all see Hannah with the hula hoop.
I think we should.
Oh,
I love this picture.
It's just
Great.
I was so happy to prove that Ava is
how happy you were with the way
You
you
look really
were.
happy.
I was so happy.
It was brilliant. All right, so I think, because we still haven't convinced you at all that you need to do gaming. So I think we need to delve into why it is we game, what it is that makes us want to game. So for me, like gaming is a huge amount about, and I so know I'm stealing a bit of Jem and Alex's answer, but it's all right, I'll be brief. You guys can expand on this. For me, and I think for everybody, the key word is often escape. It is escaping into a different world. What that sort of world is always going to vary from who it is and how you want to do things, whether it's where you want to be some sort warrior fighting for good and charging down things, or, frankly, what my biggest sort of guilty pleasure thing is that I actually, when I'm really, really stressed and I've had a terrible time during the day, Jem, I don't know if you notice when I log on to Steam, but you will suddenly see me playing Cook Serve Delicious 3, which is where I am in a food cart, actually in a post-apocalyptic world, but that's really kind of a side bit of it. I'm in a food truck making meals for people. You have to serve 200 meals in about 10 minutes just by typing. It's, for me, my most stress-relieving thing. It is the most calming thing in the world, making 50 beef Wellingtons by typing WRSU, enter, send, and just it's off there, and I love that. But I know I'm weird, but I have all these other games where it's depending on the kind of world I want to escape into, it is for me, the world is a horrible, dark, shitty place a lot of the time, and it is somewhere nice that I can go where no one's going to be horrible to me. I can adventure, I have control. I think that's a good word as well. I mean, Alex, I'm going to stop talking before I steal everything that you and Jem might want to make, but what is it about gaming for you?
It's mainly escapism, but I'm also going to jump on what you just said there, which is you're in control. That's what I like about it. If you want something, if you choose you want something relaxing, you can chill out and just have a really chilled game you want to play. If you want something that's action-packed, you can pick that as well. You can, if you're not enjoying it, you can simply turn it off, which I did the other day. I mentioned in one of my previous examples in the last episode we did about a game called Wreckfest that I realised I just wasn't enjoying. I turned it off, moved on, end of story. So I like that you're the one that's in control. If you want a game to be easier, you can turn it down. If you want it to be harder, you can turn it up. But also, you can be pretty much anything, not everything, because obviously there's a lot of games that are failing on representation at the moment, which we have also discussed previously. But I'll give you an example of the 3 most recent games I've played. In one of them, I'm a spy. In another one, I'm a Viking. And then in another one, I'm a plus 60-year-old woman called Roberta, who's a bus driver and drives around London and likes to watch Egyptian documentaries in her spare time. So it's just really fun. And it's definitely my escape, for sure.
Sorry, that just floored me slightly. Yeah. Come on, what is it? Why is gaming so wonderful?
I'm probably going to overshare a little bit here, but
excellent.
I can share with you all that I have had a really challenging 2 months, 6 weeks, or whatever. I don't know. It's a long time. My dad was very, very ill and died just 6 weeks ago, and then 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, one of my cats died, and I'm going through all sorts of stuff with my daughter and her schooling, and it's just been thing after thing after thing on top of me at the moment, and it has been extremely stressful. And I attend a women's group which we've been doing online once a month over all of the lockdown, and which I heartily recommend, because I just think women talking about life is just such a wholesome experience, and I think we're experiencing that now. I just think it's just such a positive thing to listen to other women experience it, and their life experience, and just sharing your experiences. And I went to this session. It was the first face-to-face session I went last week, and one of the other people that attends had also been having a really tough time of it, because so many people have. And I said, you know what? I think what you need is to game, because. And she did look at me slightly horrified, because she's not even remotely into gaming, but. Because for me, the only thing that has given me respite from all of these stresses and strains has been to go into a computer game and to just not be in this world, and to be in something else. And I think Caroline's right. It depends on my mood as to which game I'll pick, whether I want to be, some mighty adventurer on a major quest, or whether I want to be micromanaging, the lives of little people, and it's really nice just to go into that. And I love to listen to podcasts, and I do that a lot when I'm doing my practical work. And I was listening to one while I was playing one of these games, and I just was like, didn't hear any of that, because I was concentrating so hard on what was going on in the game that I wasn't able to even just listen. And I think it's just a way to step outside of whatever's going on in your day-to-day life and just give yourself a bit of a mental break, in the same way I think that reading does. I think watching TV is a little bit too passive for that same mental break. But what's good about game is it's an active sort of use of time, and I think that's the thing that really appeals to me. That my brain is still working. There's still an intellectual thing going on there, but I'm not having to think over and over about whatever it is that I'm trying to get away from, or I'm trying to just have a pause from, really. So I have found gaming has been so supportive during this time and at other points in my life. And I think it's definitely about a balance. I've definitely gone too far down the gaming route in my life, but I think it can be a really positive form of escape.
Before I let Hannah speak, which I must let her speak in a bit, but I just on that, it just made me think as well, because obviously, Hannah, I know you're on the ADHD path of sort of exploring that world, and I am one of those people who's just gone, I'm not going to bother with trying to get the diagnosis, and we all probably know I am, but it's fine. But I think as well, we've both talked about the need to do something with your hands. And for me, the big thing as well with gaming is that as you say, Jen, watching TV is too passive. I have to do something else. Yeah. You got to squeeze. Is that a baby Yoda?
It is, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your point.
No, I nearly bought one so many times.
And it's like, when I'm doing this show, one of the reasons that I'm constantly drinking and eating crisps is, again, that need to do something with my hands and stuff like that. And I think gaming is the one form of media that totally allows me to relax, because it completely consumes my hands, my brain, and my eyes. So how have you taken all of those thoughts in?
I think it's really fascinating, because I think you're right. Like, I am literally sitting here right now on edge because I'm not knitting whilst talking to you. Like, the need to be doing something else is like, I'm the woman that revised for med school finals with the TV on. I have to have multiple forms of stimulation all the time. It's exhausting. So I completely get that. I think I am somebody who, like, I will watch TV and knit. I will read a book with music on. Like, I can't just ever do one thing at once, and it drives people around me completely mad because they're just like, just stop. I think it's a really weird one because I get the control thing, and I am a complete control freak, as Caroline will tell you.
Did I nod then? I didn't.
You nodded furiously. I am not good at not being in control, and I think, you know, that's probably why I do the job I do, is because I like to, you know, have a plan at all times. So I get that, and I wonder whether maybe my reticence is because actually I quite like being able to just hide with a book and not have to control anything, because I spend so much of my life doing so. So yeah, I don't know whether there's an element of that in it, but I think the escapism thing is very real. I mean, like, behind me there are probably 800 books in this house. And that's partly because my mother is a book reviewer and just will not let me leave her house without a bag of books. Partly to get them away from my father, because her house is literally floor to ceiling books. But I read somewhat prolifically. And that's something that I can do, wonky body, whatever, in any position. I can hide and read. So yeah, it's really interesting that I've never tried gaming, and I don't know what my personal reticence to it is. I feel like I've got a lot of barriers in my head of why I don't want to. I think part of it is that I know that I am a very ADHD or look a new hobby person, which will take over my life. And I'm also, like, pathologically busy. So far too much of the time, she said, from a position of some substantial burnout, I'm working or I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
I will finish this podcast, I'll do some emails, and then I'll probably go to bed with a book.
And this was a big thing at the TED London Women last year. I really wish I could remember the name of that, and I will put it in the notes somewhere, because it was an amazing talk. It was one of the, for me, it was I hate to say it wasn't the best because it was my second best. That's terrible. But anyway, it was one of the two standout talks from TED London Women for me. It was a woman who gave an amazing talk on the importance of rest, and how it is something that we as women do not put in our schedules, not, like, right, well, I've got to be working or I've got to be sleeping. And I think, Jem, you and I have both said a lot about how what's been lovely about doing this podcast is it's kind of given us permission to game. Yeah. In our busy lives, we've gone, well, you know, I've got to spend a couple of hours gaming, because otherwise what am I going to talk about when I'm doing gaming? And it, for me, that's actually been amazing, because I've always gamed a lot, and over the last few years I've gamed a lot, but I'm now gaming and not feeling guilty. I'm doing important research, like, as I posted online about the Elder Scrolls Online. I mean, at the weekend I was just like, I'm going to give the Elder Scrolls Online a go, which is an incredibly immersive multiplayer game where, like, I'm basically committing to thousands of hours of play here. And I was like, I'm probably not going to really like it. Maybe I won't get into it. And then I just stopped, and the scenery was so beautiful. And there was a bird just flying past, and I just recorded it just so I could share it, of like, this is the peace of just, I'm not even doing a mission or a quest right now. I'm just watching a bird fly by in the scenery.
I think that's one of my questions. I have questions. I came with questions.
Good.
I'm open to this. I guess
I'm running out.
Like, I was trying to work out on my way home why I'm not a gamer, and why I do things I do and I don't do that, if that makes sense. And I think maybe I'm very output oriented. Like, I knit to make something. I read a book. It gets counted towards my yearly target, and it goes on my Instagram with a little review. I make a really amazing meal. There's a photograph on my Instagram, and I pass on the recipe. Like, everything I
number the books that you read each year.
I do. Yeah. I literally go #book32, #book30. And it's everything I do. I break wind, there has to be an outcome to it. I'm athletic, that is the outcome. But, and so I think that's part of my thing, is that to me, I can't figure out a way to make gaming an output.
Yeah.
To quantify that, because Caroline, you say you're committing yourself to thousands of hours. That made me physically recoil as a concept. I'm saying, do you know what you could do with thousands of hours? Do you know how much you could knit in thousands of hours? And it's fascinating that that's my immediate response. And I'm aware this is turning into a therapy session. But
I was just like, shit, we've just basically started counselling Hannah, haven't we now?
Yeah, this is totally what's happening here.
And I'm 100% with you on this, because I have a similar issue. I do often feel like, well, what's the point of this? Why am I doing this? And, if you embark on a computer game, it's like, well, nothing, what comes out of the end of this? And I think I can feel that sometimes with books. Like, if I've got 2 books, I've got this one that's like, I don't know, like a informative book, and this one which is just fiction. So which one should I read? There's always that toss up. And I think as we've said, that gaming can be such a rewarding experience in many ways. It can teach you a lot. It can tell a story. I would balk at committing thousands of hours to games, and that's why I don't jump into online gaming so much these days, for that reason, because I just feel like I don't have that time to commit, and I don't have that energy to put into it. But there are other games that are very self-contained, that were just like we were talking earlier about The Remains of Edith Finch, which is a fantastic story-based game where you're just finding out about the history of this woman's family, and she just takes you around a really fascinating house, and you look at items, and it sets off a story about one of her family members, and it's just about people, and it's an entirely story-based game, and it takes 3-4 hours, 5 hours. It's not a long. Yeah, it's a really short game, so you're not investing a lot of time in it. You're just engaging in it, in a story. It's like reading a book, really. Yeah, that's the
Right.
I didn't know that there were BAFTA Games Awards. That's
that was what our live show was about earlier, so
you will know by the time this goes out. You'll have listened to that one.
No, and I think as well, like, so Alex, you're like me, you like completing all the achievements on the game.
I do, yes.
And so
I think
like
there's that element of
outputs.
It's very much an element of like a reward, and you get rewarded for reaching certain goals in the game with certain targets, and you get nice little trophies, and they go bloop, and they pop up in the corner, and then you can get 100% of the trophies if you really want to complete your list, and you get like an overall ranking for how many trophies you have overall for all your games as well, which is always quite nice. But again, in a slightly different way, I do sometimes just use gaming as a treat at the end of like a really hard day, as a reward. It's like instead of having chocolate, I'll go and play a level of whatever game I'm playing at the current time. I can't name one right now. Probably Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm well into that one now. I'm about 38 hours, I would say, which is still really, really close to the beginning. But yeah, really enjoying it so far. I've almost made it to London, to invade London. I'm slowly invading all of England. It's fine.
I can actually walk to London in that time. I could walk to London in that time.
The thing is like there are so many different types of game. But Hannah, you know me. I'm a productive human being. Mm-hmm. I've run an election campaign for you.
You are my go-to data person.
Yeah, exactly.
I need data. I ask Caroline because
I like to
get a computer to work.
So I like to think that part of the reason I'm productive is because of that balance, is because that when I sit down to work, I am not exhausted, I am not stressed, I am not grumpy. Well, I am sometimes, that's not a lie. But because, I spent time doing these things. So Elder Scrolls, I started Elder Scrolls at the weekend. I've just done you guys some screenshots for some stats here. So I have now I've played 18 hours since the weekend.
You just said only. Okay.
Yeah.
So Stardew Valley, which Gem and I both love, is a game that I've played a huge amount. And this comes back. I put the achievements on this, Alex, because I love getting my achievements, and on Steam you get your achievements. So I've got 29 out of 40 achievements there, and I am trying so hard to get all 40 of those. I've also spent 553 hours playing that game.
Have you though? Because I'm always because I leave my game on pause for like an entire night, and I think that
I'm pretty good about it. The other half is terrible about it. Like his hours on these games are all worse than mine, because what he'll do is he'll do a workout and he'll wander off to the gym, he'll wander off and make his, and he leaves it on. So his hours are bullshit. Mine are pretty accurate. And then this is the scary one, my Rust hours.
Holy God.
Okay, I have to. How many days is that? So I can't do my math.
I mean, I've been playing it since 2016, so that's over 5 years.
I'm pretty sure I haven't slept that much since 2016.
Somebody do the maths.
100 days. That's 100 days.
Wow.
More. 101 days.
And that's over 5 years.
But that's in addition to the other games, which you clock up 500 hours for. No, don't give me this. It's only 5 years, Hannah. No. I'm really genuinely impressed.
Because you know that I'm not an unproductive person.
No. And it's just, my brain cannot compute this.
And this is why the reason I'm going on about this is that we're trying to convince you to game. I'm saying, look what I can achieve and still game and be relaxed and happy. And it's one of the reasons I'm relaxed and happy is because I game. I'm loving Hannah's face now. Right.
There's a light bulb moment. Okay.
Or a horror moment.
Yeah, one of the two.
This is why we didn't win round 10.
I was not saying that. But, I'm now keeping a tally in my head of how many hours you're playing. Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I am very aware that I have an incredibly unhealthy work-life balance, in that it's a work balance.
Yes.
There was definitely a life once upon a time.
The lovely thing is we've made this part of our work-life balance by doing the podcast, so now we have a reason to game.
And in fairness, that's one of the reasons that I put all my books on Instagram, is because that way I know I'm going to make myself finish the bloody book.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
it's true, actually. There's a lot of games now where I'm like, I must finish it or else I'll be embarrassed on gaming the system.
It's all right. I'll always be there to be the last one.
So, Hannah, just to put you slightly on the deputy leader form.
Yeah. I'm so glad I've had that large glass of white wine. I think, let's face it, I needed it.
Gaming is a feminist issue.
Yes.
Okay, so you may not want to game, you may not ever game, but do you at least feel that it is important that, when we're talking about equality in the media and stuff like that, that we actually talk about gaming as well as a feminist issue?
Yes, of course it bloody is.
And
so if you read... I was so proud of that roll backwards. So if
she finds the book quickly, it's impressive.
Where bloody is it?
Also, this goes out as audio, so just for our podcast listeners,
right, there we go.
Hannah is looking for a book on her bookshelf.
In my head, the spine was white, not orange. Anyway, if you read Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates, you appreciate how the online space can be incredibly bloody toxic for women, and actually having these online spaces, whether they be games or forum or whatever they may be, if you have these places that are purely men-only spaces, then that's when male terrorism, for want of a better phrase, is able to kind of propagate, when these seriously right-wing, misogynistic, abusive, horrible views are out there. And I think if we don't have women in those spaces and men are left to their own devices, bad things often happen. So I think it's, I'm probably never going to be a gamer, and I don't want you to all feel disappointed by this. You've all done an excellent job, and genuinely, I have learned a lot because I've never really understood any of it, and my brain is kind of buzzing right now. But I think fundamentally, feminism is all about just wanting women to be equal to men, and I may not want to game, but I will defend to the death your right to do so, and to do so equally and safely and happily. And so I think, every young woman who grows up who wants to game should be able to do so in a safe space. And if we're not creating that in the virtual world, then what hope do we have in the real world, where arguably we have so much more kind of long-term patriarchal crappery to deal with? The virtual world is comparatively very, very, very young. I like to think we still have time to make it better. Yes, it's primarily been designed by men, but that doesn't mean we can't fix it. So I think if we can't get this right in the virtual world, we have no chance of getting this right in the real one. And from what I'm hearing from you guys, there's huge crossover between the two. Like, you don't just live in your computer games, though the amount of hours Caroline spends on computer games well lived in her computer games. I've now seen computer games as a form of Narnia. It's like in my head.
Honestly, it's a joke, but to me it is. It's like, I'm just going to Narnia for a bit to get away from all the shit that's going on out there.
Yeah.
And on that level, you make it sound very attractive. That's probably the most attractive thing you've said about gaming all evening. I can go to Narnia. Fabulous. But I think, the two are inextricably intertwined. And I don't think you can ever truly have equality in one without having it in the other.
Jen, what was that wonderful thing you said once when we weren't actually recording? And I had to make you say it again later, and then I've never managed to get the quote. About how do you remember it?
Was it about that we were looking at equality through a gaming lens, but we're also looking at
it's the other way around
through a feminist lens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, say it again now. I've got to get it on camera. One day I will get you saying this.
Do you need me to say it again then?
Yes.
We're looking at equality through a feminist lens. Looking at gaming through a feminist lens. There we go.
Yeah.
We're looking at gaming through a feminist lens, but we're also looking at life through the gaming lens, was what I think you said.
Yes.
As well.
Okay. Right. Do you want me to say that again from the start? This is such good listening.
You don't have to say
I'm confused.
I've made it work.
So yeah, no. I mean, it is true though. I mean, we are looking at life, gaming through a feminist lens, and we're looking at life through that gaming lens. Like we talk so much about the games that we play, but we use them as a way to view and to look at the world that we see around us, and especially because this is something that people do in their downtime, and I think, we spend a lot of time thinking about, like, what does, racism in footballing mean to society? And we talk so little about what does gaming, what do the choices that gamers are making mean to society? But yet the gaming industry is massive. I don't have the figures to hand.
I think it is the biggest entertainment industry in the world.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it is massive. A huge part of that.
And we have, I just was going to say, and we have a British esports team who are lions.
We do. Yeah.
And the women are the lionesses, of course, as well. Yeah.
So there's a way to go. There's a way to go here, but it's massive.
Why are esports divided into male and female teams?
So they can compete they do compete against each other, but they get their own separate page on the website. And my bugbear with this before was the fact that this looks like a proud, stern lion, whereas this looks like a really whiny, naggy lion. It's just
I thought she was yelling. I kind of liked that.
But yeah,
she's like, she's gonna eat you.
But yeah, no, and the women's esports teams, they do get separated out, and they are like, there are far fewer women in esports. When we were talking about this, we were saying that the kind of games that are considered esports are not the sort of games that women tend to play. And Jem suggested that we make The Sims competitive.
Yes,
which
that
I
would be
thought
so
was
good.
I was watching Hannah
I
confused.
think we've blown her mind. She's just like,
I mean, partly because in my mind, esports means jumping about in front of the Wii. And I'm guessing that's not what it is.
No, but
No,
that would be so much cooler.
That would
If
be,
it
yeah,
was.
we'd love that. It's mostly shooting games. It's mostly the sort of like things like Fortnite, which we've already slagged off quite a lot. So let's slag off League of Legends as well while we're at it, which are the sort of games where they're not good beginner games because they throw you in to instantly, you've got a gun, there's people everywhere, go, go, go type sort of thing. And you're like, what? And you're multiplaying with millions of other people. And they're horrible environments because they are the sort of games I kind of like, but the environments are very much oh, you fucking noob, oh, you got us killed, oh, why have you done that? And it's just if you're not, even if you are good at it, people shout abuse. It's the toxic, it's the stuff Laura Bates is talking about. And there's a bit of me that feels like, should I be out there playing Counter-Strike Go just to like try and counteract the toxic masculinity that exists? Do I force myself into Fortnite games to try and sort of teach teenage boys to be better people? I'm like, no, because gaming's my fun time and I shouldn't have to be being like forcing it. But they are environments that are like, I could list, I mean, Rust is one of the games that people would normally list as being a toxic environment, but you can choose your servers a lot better. I'd say the worst are Fortnite, Players Unknown Battleground, League of Legends, those sort of things. And those are the games that they do as esports. So therefore, they're not very inclusive of women. Or, to be fair, people of colour, or disabled people, or particularly the LGBTIQ community. The homophobia you see in those chats is horrific. And it's like even servers that will be like, we don't tolerate racism or misogyny. And it's like, what's that big pause that's coming after? It's like, well, you can't.
It's all about macho world, isn't it? It's a very like classic male macho environment, and so when a woman turns up and you know they hear her voice over the mic, they're all horrified, or they're either hitting on her or telling her that she's using her boyfriend's account, or you know it's just an environment that is not in any way encouraging to women.
It's the gatekeeping as well, isn't it? It's the like, you're not a real gamer. You can't be a real gamer because you're a girl, which is why we describe ourselves as intersectional gamers, which sounds stupid, but there are men out there who will say, if you play Animal Crossing, you're not a gamer. If you play which, I mean, Hannah doesn't even know what Animal Crossing is, which is fine. But
I know that Athena got very upset about it one day, though, and like went off on one on the podcast about capitalism or something. I'm very confused.
I take her point, but if we didn't have only 3 minutes left, I would launch into a rant about how games like Animal Crossing give you a false view of capitalism, because it's like, oh, I can pick up all these things off the ground, sell them, and I'll be happy. When, of course, in real life, it doesn't work like that. But that's not the point. The point.
I don't know. I'm quite happy picking up my cucumbers at the moment.
Yeah, but you can't sell
my
your
real
weeds.
cucumbers.
You can't sell your weeds
But
for
nobody's going to
£10.
buy them off me. No. I'm
Anyway,
just giving them to everyone.
It's things, but the misogyny that does hit in gaming is it's the gatekeeping, it's the you're not a proper gamer, it's the esports, it's the sort of categorizing what they consider to be a real game compared to another game. And there is a brilliant book which I have been reading on and off for a few years because I'm not as prolific a reader as Hannah and I prefer fiction to non-fiction, but it is called Ready Player 2, and I dived back into it again this week, and it's a wonderful, fun-filled facts of all the stuff about the studies done on women in gaming, which show that there is gatekeeping going on, which is why we're not on the esports teams. Anyway, sorry, I rambled too much and I got off the point there, but I was having fun, so that's what matters. Right, last chance now. We've got 1 minute left. So, Alex, Jem, then me. If we could tie Hannah down, because I think that's the only way this is going to happen. If we could tie Hannah to a chair and make her play one game to
There's
try.
something very awful about tying a wheelchair to a chair, but carry on.
I'm not going to tie you. Anyway, I'll stop before I make it worse. If you could choose one game and force her to play it, obviously in a consent is very important, but Hannah's my friend, so we can force her to play a game. What game would you try and force her to play, Alex or Jem?
It's a really hard question because it depends what you like, Hannah. What do you like outside, like in terms of even movie genres and things? You know, is there a particular movie genre that you like?
I don't watch movies because I haven't got a
Okay, wrong question. Okay.
Should have sent her a questionnaire ahead of this, really.
Bad American comedy that lasts like 20 to 30 minutes is kind of my
Okay, so a short game. Short. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just going to go with my staple, which is probably a game like Journey, because I love it. And it's very emotional. And you take what you want from it. It's open to interpretation, and it's just a lovely exploratory, chilled out, exciting / less stressful game. And you don't have to talk to anyone.
Yes.
And when you do, all you do is, it is another player, but you just make little bleepy noises, and all you can do is go boop. And then that's the only form of communication. And you have to either learn to work together, or you can abandon them and carry on your own. It's up to you. But it's a lovely game, and I would say that one. Yeah.
I like the idea of booping at people. That makes me happy.
Yeah. It really freaked me out, actually, the first time somebody came along. I was like, oh, there's somebody else here. I don't have to interact. I felt socially awkward. And then it's like, oh, no, I don't. It's kind of cool. Jen, what are you going to force Hannah to play?
Oh, I think probably the Remains of Edith Finch, actually, or Her Story. I think either of those I would go with, because Remains of Edith Finch, as I said, it's an interactive game, but it's you play it as though you're inside the body walking through this house. It's so beautiful. It's so for the most part quite calm, and there's so much to look at, and you can take it at whatever rate you like, and you can dip in, come back a week later, dip in again for an hour, come back. You don't have to invest more than you're able to. So I would definitely recommend that. And Her Story is just a really interesting, fascinating game where it's about piecing together interview footage and working out what has happened in a mystery, and it's really fascinating. So it's lots of notes taking. I had like a notepad that I wrote my notes down, and you never know what the answer is. And you never know. You don't find out the end. There's not like somebody comes up and goes, "Yes, you got it right." It's just you're a detective.
It's not going to work for Hannah. She needs resolution.
She needs answers.
Well, yeah, but you can go online and see what the majority of people think it was the answer, and decide. But it's just
think of it like a book where it's like,
it's like a choose your own adventure, basically. And those are the games that I would point you in the direction of, because it's got that literary aspect to it, but it's very there's very few barriers for a non-gamer to get into gaming, I think, through that way.
I'm gonna disagree with you both completely. Okay. I'm gonna go with
Rust. Put her in Rust.
I love that you picked that up. No. I have on Steam, you can put your games into categories. Steam being the platform that I buy my PC games on. And I have a category that I call job simulators, because they are basically games that become so all-consuming and so sort of you trying to finish something that it's basically like having a job. You're micromanaging everybody. You're controlling literally everything that goes on.
What I need is another job.
You've got clear objectives. Oscar is always saying, he's like, how are you playing so many games that are essentially a job in your downtime? But I love them because of the fact that it's a world where I can control the results. I can be good at the job. Nobody else can interfere. If they do interfere, I fire them or sell them or what, depending on the game. And I find these games so wonderful for giving you that one, they're completely immersive and they're very addictive and it's hard to get out of them. And two, the control aspect of them is just like, I can fix everything in the world. I can actually make everything okay. Finally, I'll be able to make it all okay. And I will point out just one of them, Game Dev Tycoon, in which you run a game development company and develop games. So it's wonderfully meta. Has an end goal. Like there's a point where you're done. It's like, right, you're the most successful game company in the world. Everybody's buying your consoles and that's it.
I automatically looked at 911 operator and thought, that looks like work.
I absolutely love 911 operator because you have to make all the police cars and all the fire trucks and all the emergency vehicles go to the, like they've got to prioritize which emergencies go to so they all get to them in time every night. You see why I call them job simulators. Right, Hannah, we have talked at you for far too long because you're tired, and also we've been going for an hour and a bit now, sorry. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We're sorry if we haven't convinced you of any games.
Actually, the Edith Finch one, that was the one like earlier. I thought, that sounds like a book.
It is like a book.
It is basically a book.
I mean, that's what I needed to say. It's like a book. I can put it on my Instagram and I can count it towards my yearly target.
Oh, absolutely. There's lots of games like that as well. So,
I'm glad we found one game at least that you might play. So thank you for coming along. And it's been so lovely to have a guest, and it's been lovely talking to you as well, Alex and Jem, as always. And we will be here every Thursday, 7 p.m. on Twitch, on Facebook, on Spotify, on YouTube. And there's cats quite often as well, which is great. So please like, share, and subscribe, and whatever else I meant to say. Right. Bye.
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 We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.